burning down pretty good now. Just wasted all this time and effort. Let's give this another shot. Oh, welcome back to another episode from Pale Horse Survival and Tactical. I'm Bill, glad you could join me. Today we're going to take a look at a rawhide firesteel holder. Stay tuned. I thought we'd do a quick little project today for a firesteel, rawhide firesteel holder, and put it on a neck lanyard. I brought my well-used 1/2 inch by 5 inch ferrocerium rod. This one's seen a lot of action throughout the years. Still going strong. You can see it's been worn down a bit. There's still got a lot of life left in this. And I have a piece of rawhide here. I'm using a rawhide dog chews. It's just a readily available source of rawhide, and rawhide in its dry form is hard. So what I do is take the rawhide chew. There's different size chews. It depends on how big a piece of rawhide you need for the particular project that you're working on. But take the rawhide chew and put it in a kettle of water and soak it overnight, and if you have to, weight it down with a saucer or a cereal bowl or whatever, because it wants to float when it's dry. Just weight it down, and by morning you can unroll it and you'll have yourself a flexible piece of rawhide to work with. So with that said, I've got another video that I got to shoot after this, so I'm going to kind of move along here. This little piece of rawhide will be more than enough for this ferrocerium rod project that we're going to work on here. So what we want is a straight edge to start off with. So this is actually a scrap that I had from a previous project. That's why it's all cut and jagged here. So we'll go ahead and I'm going to square this edge up. I hear somebody coming down the trail over here. Excuse me, I'll be right back here. I was just curious who was coming down the trail over here. Anyways, don't throw away your little scraps of rawhide, save those. You can make rawhide glue out of those, so they're worth hanging on to. You can probably hear the dirt bite. Just pass back by here. Actually, there's two now. Okay. So what we're going to do here is we'll make this a little undersized so it shrinks. I want to leave a little bit of gap down here at the bottom. Enough to punch some holes. So this will be stitched just like that. So roll your rod up in the material. I'm thinking somewhere around there would work, so we'll just, you want to leave a tab at the top. This is where we're going to attach the neck lanyard. So I'm just rolling this until the rawhide contacts the bottom here, and then I'm just going to use the ferro rod as a guide. For my knife, so we'll go ahead and square this off here. Yeah, that should work okay. It's not too bad for a guesstimation. Once that's stitched and then shrinks, it should be pretty snug. So what we're going to do here, we'll leave just enough gap at the bottom here to stitch these two ends together. That should be just about enough. So looking up here at the top, we don't want this to sit all the way into the sheath, because then it's going to be too hard to pull it out. So we're going to leave about probably about a ½ an inch, I guess, sticking up out of the top, 3/4. Yeah, we can probably go nearly an inch. So we'll cut this. Bring you guys up to date. It was just a couple of dirt bikers that were idling down the trail, and anyways, that all checked out. I come back and I just start working on the project here, and I hear the camera making noise, and it shuts down, and the error message said that my 16 gig card was now a read-only card, that I was not capable of recording to it. So played around with it, so I don't know what happened to it. But it didn't record some of what I did here, and I had to swap it out. I had another card for it, fortunately, in my camera bag. So anyways, so hopefully I'll be able to retrieve the footage off of that other card, because I have another video on there that I shot earlier. So anyways, that really sucks. So some type of issue with the card. So anyways, this one appears to be working okay, so it's not the camera. Okay, so what I did was, back to this, I'll have to just kind of reenact some of this since it didn't get recorded. I put the rod inside here. I left a gap at the bottom so we could stitch that closed. Rolled it over until this top part was touching the bottom, and then I just used the ferro rod as a guide, and I ran my knife down here and just cut it off straight, which is this piece here. Remove that, and then still maintaining the gap down here, I cut at a 90 across here, about 1 inch down from the top. I wanted most of the rod to be inside the sheath to protect the rod, because these tend to get nicked up pretty easily and damaged. So I just cut 90 degrees out, about 1 inch down from the top, and 90 degrees out here. So this will fold over. We'll run a stitch down here, and I left the tab up here. This is going to be where we're going to attach the neck lanyard. I'm wondering what I want to do with the tab here. I think what we'll do is, I don't want this wide tab here. So I think what we'll do, we'll just cut up and up to reduce the width of this. And then we can attach the neck lanyard up here on the top. I think that'll look a lot better. Actually, I could probably reduce this down a bit as well. Go ahead and deal with that right now. And you save your little scraps. I'll mention that again in case it didn't get recorded. So you make rawhide glue out of the scraps. Go ahead and Alright, that's not too bad. And then I'm thinking we can reduce the height of this a little bit. We don't need this tab as high as it is, so go ahead and probably reduce it down to about, accounting for a little bit of shrinkage, probably about right here. Little edge here I want to clean up, and then we're going to go ahead and there we go. That's not looking too bad. So we'll go ahead and get our holes punched now. Get it stitched up and get this project finished. So to punch the holes, we'll go ahead and just fold it over, double it over just like this. I'm going to put it up here on the log and punch a line of holes down to the bottom, and probably about 3 across the edge here, on the side rather, not the bottom, and then at the bottom we'll put about 2, probably 3 holes at the bottom. So let me go ahead and get that set up here and the camera repositioned, and I shall return. Stay tuned. Okay, well, here's the rock I was looking for, hammerstone for the hole punch. I went and found another one, but I had my some of my gear sitting on it, so I have a little punch set that I carry in the possibles bag for doing in the field projects. It's a little mini hole punch kit from Tandy Leather. I found this one on eBay, actually. Alright. So what size we're gonna punch these holes at. I'm gonna be stitching this with yucca fiber. You've probably seen the yucca sitting over here on the round. So I don't need real big holes. So I think we can probably go with this size. Yeah, I really like this little hole punch set. It works pretty well, actually. I like things that are small and compact. Alright, so we'll just double this over. And actually looking at this, once it's doubled over, join the edges here, you can see I have an uneven edge right here at the bottom. So before we get started, go ahead and pull the knife out here and clean that up. There we go. The main thing when you're punching this, back your punch on something soft, piece of wood, otherwise you dull the tips out. And rawhide loves to move around on you. So just make sure when you're punching the holes, that it doesn't slide around on you if you're punching through 2 layers. Go ahead and run a line of holes down here, and I'm putting them about a quarter of an inch apart. Go ahead and finish punching all these holes out, and I shall return. Stay tuned. Okay, so I got all the holes punched. So we're going to go ahead and stitch this up. I'm going to stitch this using yucca fiber. And if you'll remember from the previous video, I showed how to make sewing needles from thorns. And this is what we're going to be using today. So I'm dipping my fingers into my canteen cup over here, getting a little bit of water and dampening the yucca fibers down. They're much easier to work with when they're damp. So what we're going to do here is we're going to use an X stitch, and that requires a needle on both ends of the cordage. So I already have one attached here. So what we're going to do is we're going to put on the opposite end of the cord the piece of yucca fiber. We're going to put a single overhand knot. I have another needle here from a thorn. And I'll attach that video down below in the description box on how to use the thorns as sewing needles, in case you didn't see that one. So with a single overhand knot, that secures our cordage. So now we have a needle on both ends. We're going to start up here at the top and run our needle through and the cordage. Get the cordage roughly even. And how we're going to run the stitch is, it's an X stitch. It's a pretty common stitch in a lot of Native American type projects. So to run this, we're going to cross the cordage over our project here and run the needle through from right to left. So we have the left needle comes over to the right and goes back to the left. We'll run that piece of cordage just like this. Our needle on the right crosses over to the left and goes back through the same hole. I left a little head on these, there we go, on these thorns, so you have to kind of finesse them through the hole. And this is an X stitch. It crisscrosses over the top of the seam. So you take it, pull it tight, just like that. Same stitch pattern. We're taking the needle on the left, we're crossing over our material, needle on the left to the right, and passes back through the hole to the left. So we just ran a crisscross over the top. Our needle on the right goes to the left over our material and passes back to the right. Snug it down. Same pattern. Needle on the left goes over the top, through the hole, back to the left. Needle on the right goes to the left, back through the hole to the right. You just repeat the pattern. It's just a repetitious pattern. This is why in a lot of Native American crafts you see that nice crisscross pattern in the stitching. Well, this is how they do it. The cordage starts to dry out, and you can use artificial sinew, you can use thread, whatever you want to use to stitch this. There's even hemp fiber out there which works really well. I'm just using all natural materials here, right down to the needles. After all, that's the foundation of bushcraft, is the utilization of what nature provides. Just a repeating pattern here. It's a very, very simple little project. Next video I'm going to work on today are Native American ceremonial rattles. Not survival related, but something I feel led to shoot an episode on. So it's going to be another really cool project with rawhide rattle heads, and it's going to be stitched up with yucca fiber. That video will be a few weeks out though. I'm going to begin shooting it today, but it won't be finished today. This is what we have. It's a real nice stitch pattern. I'm hoping we're going to have enough cordage to reach the bottom here. If you run short, you just remove it from the needles, tie yourself a double overhand knot, and then rehook another piece of fiber up between your needles, and you can continue on. It's very simple to do. Bottom, almost to the bottom edge here. Hoping we have just enough cordage here to complete this, so we don't have to splice anything in. Oh, it's getting close. break my thorn. It looks like we just did it. Yeah, that's cutting it real close. The cordage broke, but that's okay, because we're ready to terminate this. So to pull the cordage off here, just slide it down to the end of the needle and pull your needle out. Now you've got your cordage out here. Legs are falling asleep. Ah! Stuff's a lot easier to deal with when it's wet, damp. So when you get down and you terminate this, just finish it off with a double overhand. That yucca fiber is amazingly strong. There we go. Just trim up the tag ends. They're sticking out of here. There we go, we're all stitched up. And there's the bottom where we terminated the knot. Now the ferrule rod will go in here. And I would suggest leaving the ferrule rod in here as it dries. That way it'll form perfectly to the rod. Don't force it so far that you break any of these seams. Just gently work it down in. Make sure everything is how you want it. Everything's lined up, because once this stuff dries, it'll be very hard. And this is what we have. That is a ferrule rod sheath with all natural materials. So you just leave it sit in there and just let it get dry, harden up. So what we're going to do here, first of all, I'm going to give my legs a break. And when I return, we're going to go ahead and punch the holes here, 2 holes for the neck lanyard. I have some buckskin deer lacing that we're going to use for the neck lanyard. So stay tuned, I shall return. Okay, now that I have the blood moving in my legs again, we're going to go ahead and I'm just going to leave the ferro rod in here as I punch a couple holes here. So all we're going to do with this, we're just going to put 2 holes side by side on the top of this tab. There's hole number 1. And hole number 2. So all we're going to do with this, take a piece of this buckskin lacing, run it through the holes. Just like this. And that will make a good neck lanyard. That'll hang right around the neck. It's still wet and pliable, so I'm not going to wear it like this. I'll lay it down flat and let it finish drying out and hardening. It takes a few days for the rawhide to dry out and re-harden completely, but works fine. This is my rawhide knife sheath that I made. You can find that video on the channel as well. That's from my Becker BK14. I didn't like the stock sheath that came with the knife, so it was pretty janky in my opinion, and I kept losing the knife, kept popping out. Lost it twice and was lucky to find it, but terrible sheath retention, and just didn't care for it, so decided to make something out of rawhide. But this works pretty well, and came out a simple little project, came out pretty nice. So it's a nifty way to carry a ferro rod right around your neck, and it's there for when you need it. Well, I hope you guys enjoy the video as much as I did making it today. Please like, subscribe, and share. I hope all of you are having an outstanding day or night, depending on where you're located, and I will see all of you very soon on the next one. Everybody take care. Bye-bye.